Well, hello there. We have the pressure to say yes, the tendency to overcommit yourself, yearning and desire. What experience would you really love to have above all others? We have provocation, Jupiter's position, moving out this cycle. We've got Pluto retrograding back into the gate of limitation. So lots going on. These are all pressures and questions that this cycle of the human design weather for August 16th to 22nd, 2025 will bring. I'm Margot Fraser, your guide through the cosmic energetic weather. As a certified human design professional and intuitive coach, I'm on a mission to help you know, live, and love the magic of your true nature. With this cycle, we have two traits that are part of the abstract experiential circuitry in our Sun-Earth positions. One in the sacral center, one in the solar plexus center. So we know it's going to be a cycle with emotionality and working in the context of experiential cycles, beginnings, middles, and ends. The abstract experiential traits always carry a theme of expectations, and ideally doing your best to let go of them. There's also a rule of thumb of one experience at a time to really be able to go into the depth of that singular experience and gain all of the lessons and wisdom that's there. This cycle begins on August 16th at 9:28 p.m., going until August 22nd at 5:41 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Universal time coordinates that's starting August 17th at 3:28 a.m., going until August 22nd at 11:41 p.m. So remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start with the Sun-Earth activations because that's 70% of what's coming through this conditioning field. We have the Sun moving into gate 29, the trait of saying yes. It is also called the Abysmal. It's in the sacral center, that motor that generates life force energy, second square up from the bottom of the chart. Its keynote says, "The deep within the deep. Persistence, despite difficulties, has its inevitable rewards." This really speaks to the fact that saying yes to life is inherently saying yes to difficulties. That's just part of life. But eventually, if you stick with it, there will be rewards in the lessons and the wisdom gained and the increased maturity and growth that goes with that. This is in the sacral center, which generates the energy to do work that's satisfying. So when you enter into something correctly according to your strategy and authority, you're going to have the energy to persist through the ups and downs of the experience, to be able to surrender to the experience for whatever it brings. That's really the opportunity that comes with this gate activation, to learn that when you commit to something that's correct for you and just surrender to it, there's a depth and discovery that you'll get access to just in being in the experience for the experience. You can also bring this energy to say no to something. The polarity is always there, saying no to something that's not correct for you. Because the pressure is there to commit that energy, it's a cycle to really bring extra attention to what you're committing to. If you're not using your strategy and authority, the pressure to say yes could have you committing to things and people that are not aligned with you. And in the end, it's going to leave you frustrated, exhausted, and being overcommitted. Hence its nickname, the Abysmal. It's hard to get out of something once you've committed to it. If you have this trait in your design, I'll bet that you can look back in your life and really see this tendency to say yes, to overcommit. Yes, I'll do that. Yeah, sure, I can look after that. All right, well, gate 29 is being grounded in the Earth's position, gate 30 in the solar plexus center, the emotional center. It's activating the trait of recognition of feelings and desire. The emotional center is both a motor that brings the emotional wave. We all know emotions go up and down, hope to pain, joy to sorrow, and it's also an awareness center, our emotional awareness. The keynote for this trait says freedom recognized as an illusion and limitation accepted as fate. Now that may seem a bit off-putting, but here's what it's really speaking to. You are a unique individual. You are incomparable. But this is the gate of desire. And a lot of time in our not self, we're comparing. I want to look like him or her. I want to be like them. We're looking outside of ourselves. But you have your own traits that are truly part of you. This whole thing about, you can be anything you want, anything you desire. That's the illusion here. There's no freedom in being who you're not. It is exhausting to put that mask on and try to maintain that not self throughout your whole life. Yes, your specific design has certain limitations and it's perfect. You're here to be you. We're all individual pieces of the whole, the totality. And in that we have our place, which means your limitations and is also where you find your freedom. It's just in being who you are, to live your design. It's really beautiful. As Ross said, it's a grace, not a punishment. The potential opportunity this activation brings is to be able to narrow down all the fantasies and dreams you may have for a new experience to the one that you really want to have, the one you're really yearning for. That's why it's called the clinging fire, that deep yearning for that one thing. The caution is that there can't be any expectations about the outcome of the experience. It takes you right out of it. And gate 30, this trait of desire, it's probably the most difficult gate to be able to do that, to be able to let go of expectations. So do your best with that. This is, again, the clinging fire, the yearning that can burn inside of you, and expectations can lead to deep disappointment. When we look at these Sun-Earth positions together, you may find yourself committing to experience your greatest realistic desire, or you may find yourself committing your energy to a fantasy that's completely misaligned for you. You could say no to something that's not aligned to your desires, maintaining those healthy boundaries and your energy through that. Or you could say no to something that is aligned, but where your not self mind is creating fear around what would happen if you said yes. This is a place where burnout can occur. These are all possibilities out of this pressure. Let's move on to our channels now. A reminder that when the transit field creates a channel, everyone in the world that doesn't already have it in their design is going to receive the activation of the related traits and qualities. So it has a big impact that way. It's impacting everyone in the world. We have one medium-term channel that's coming in right at the start of this cycle as the Earth's position in that gate 30, that trait of desire, will connect with its electromagnetic gate 41, the trait of decrease in the root center that's being activated by Pluto. Now, Pluto's going to shift gates. It's one of the big changes that we have this cycle. That's going to happen later in the cycle, though, or towards the end. So this channel will be right there at the start of the cycle and will go until August 20th at 2:58 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. That's 8:58 a.m. UTC. Together, they create the channel of recognition, a design of focused energy. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry where the fantasies and dreams of gate 41 can be narrowed down to that one experience, that one desire that has value and that you'd really like to have. It is a process that takes time. Anything that's connected to the emotional center has to go through its wave to receive clarity. The caution is that, once again, there can't be any expectations, and there can be only one experience that you enter into at a time. We have one channel being created by the transit of the moon. So it's just a little taster. The moon only activates a trait or a gate for about 10 to 11 hours, give or take. So I'll walk through this one briefly. This is coming in on August 18th at 12:28 a.m., going until 10:05 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, it's coming in August 18th at 6:28 a.m., going until 4:05 p.m. We have the moon moving into gate 12, the trait of caution or incaution, in the throat center, connecting with the north nodes, gate 22. This is the trait of grace in the emotional center. Together, they create the channel of openness, a design of a social being. That expression in gate 12 in the throat center is empowered by the emotional motor and possible awareness of gate 22. First of all, it brings emotionality. This is an emotional wave that operates in a spike. So it's actually pretty even until it's triggered, and then it can go way up or way down. Particularly for those of you that have the emotional center undefined or white in your chart, it's going to be amplified, that emotionality. This channel brings the pressure to be socially open or socially closed, depending on mood, the emotionality. It can bring the intentions of emotions to the mood, whether up or down. This is a place of romance, of passion. It can shift others' emotions, and it's the only social channel in the individual circuitry. It brings a kind of chameleon quality to the, well, we call it freakiness or weirdness of the individual circuitry. After all, it's here to be different. It's here to bring something new and mutative. But this chameleon-like quality allows one to be accepted by the tribe and the collective in a greater way. Oh, they seem just like us, which in turn can allow that bringing through of that something new, of that mutation, that spark that could be taken up by the tribe or the collective. There's never a guarantee that that spark is going to turn into a fire. It can bring real grace and politeness to interactions and a built-in cautiousness in expression from knowing that the tribe and the collective aren't always ready to hear or accept the new, the mutation. Or it could bring rudeness, aggressiveness, disgrace to interactions, and incautiousness in expression, splattering its moods all over the place. It's a channel of making music together, literally and metaphorically. It can be fickle. It can turn on a dime. It's a spike wave. It's very, very acoustic and attuned to the pitch and the quality. The opportunity is the possibility of bringing your unique expression to social interactions in a way that could shift them. There's an opportunity to be open in a graceful way to others. The caution is that if you pulse down in the wave, the mood is going down, you may just then want to withdraw and you're going to feel more socially closed. But sometimes we force ourselves to go into social situations anyways, instead of just respecting the mood. And yeah, you're going to bring that bad mood with you. There can be emotional enthusiasm way up here, or the way down of volatility. We've got that emotional center with a direct connection to the throat. That brings us to our long-term transits, where we have some significant changes, as I mentioned up front. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases. So your not self mind could start to think that they're part of you, part of your design, even when you don't have it in your body graph. When it finally leaves, when that transit moves on, well, that can be a little bit confusing to the not self mind. We have some line changes in this cycle as well as some gate changes. So let's take a look here. Now, the south node and the north node of the moon, they're sitting in gates 47, the trait of oppression and realization in the ajna center. The north node in gate 22, the gate of grace or disgrace in the emotional center. We were just talking about that one. No changes there. They remain in line 2. Gate 22, that individual trait of grace or disgrace, attentive listening or not, and openness or closeness to social interaction. In line 2 is called Charm School. It has a developmental theme that says the belief that style can mask nature. So our nodes are about our environment and what we see around us. So this is really bringing an environment, what we see around us, where there can be this real attentiveness to each other and openness to socializing. Although the substance of the talk itself will be more superficial. Still, it brings opportunity. It brings opportunity, especially if you're meeting strangers, to just open oneself to socializing and have that connection. Or, since we most often see the detriments play out in the collective, what we may see around us is people who, they might attract our attention, but close us off to interaction. Like, wow, like you notice them, but yeah, I don't actually want to interact with them. Thanks very much. Gate 47, the collective abstract trait of realization and oppression in the ajna center. For it, line 2 is called ambition. So it brings this environment that's going to be busy. People being busy in the present so they don't have to deal with trying to make sense of the past, which is what the mental abstract process is all about. How do we make sense of our experiences? The question is what you're being busy with of value? Line 2 is the natural and the hermit. Naturally, the making sense process is going to make its way through. So you might as well just stay busy and just make sure it's something of value. Use your strategy and authority to guide you on that. We have a big change this cycle with Jupiter and its quality of expansion, moving into a new gate. We start this cycle with it sitting in the individual gate of provocation, gate 39 in the root center. It's been sitting in line 6, called the troubleshooter, with its natural gift for solving problems. We talked quite a bit about that last cycle. But on the 17th, so pretty early in this cycle, Jupiter's going to move into gate 53, the trait of beginnings and development, also in the root center. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry, bringing the pressure to begin a new life experience. And it also brings the potential to see that experience through to its end. The keynote for this trait says, development as a structured progression that is both steadfast and enduring. A structured progression, beginnings, middles, ends. Steadfast, it brings this quality of persistence. And once you've seen it through and gained the wisdom, no one can take that away from you. It's enduring, as are the cycles within the cycles of life. It's going to move into line 1 called accumulation. The exaltation says the dissolution of old forms, but not at the expense of valued components that will be retained and transformed. The pressure to begin something new, not from scratch, but based on the foundation of the old. Pretty self-explanatory. The detriment says development hampered by criticism and the tendency to withdraw rather than make use of these experiences. The difficulty in starting something new because of the criticism that accompanied the old. The essence of this hexagram, the way that Rod described it, is are you mature or are you immature? Now, the transit field's not bringing through the electromagnetic, which is gate 42 in the sacral center, the gate of completion and growth. So there could be some frustration that comes with this pressure to start something new, but at the same time, may not be able to see it through. So Jupiter with its expansion is going to expand this pressure to start something new. You can see this play out, for example, as someone jumping from one job to another job, never really settling in because of this pressure and gaining the lessons and getting that maturing process. So just something to watch for here. Yeah, if you're feeling the pressure to start something new, make sure you're following your strategy and authority so that you're not jumping out of a cycle that you're already in to start something new because of this pressure. All right. Saturn and Neptune still both sitting in gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence and universal love, or the polarity. Neptune continues to sit in line 4. However, Saturn has now moved into line 3. So let's look at Neptune first. Line 4 is called survival and says the nature of true innocence can be maintained regardless of circumstances. The spiritual warrior. There's no detriment to this line. Now, Neptune brings that kind of wateriness. It can veil or unveil. It can dissolve. So maybe it will help dissolve those ways of being within you that are not aligned to your true nature, that prevent you from just sitting in the unknown and being present to what is. It could potentially veil the nature of true innocence. Both polarities could play out here. Saturn, with its limitations and consequences, has moved into line 3 called sensibility. It has a developmental theme that says the recognition that innocent action does not in itself guarantee success. So it can bring the power of the spirit to withstand failure and shock, but there can also be the potential loss of spirit through failure and shock. Perhaps Saturn will limit both the power of the spirit to withstand shock and the loss of spirit through shock. Saturn tends to be more of a serious energy and it's very powerful, tends to be more disciplined. So I could see this energy really saying, hey, if you can't be sensible, if you can't understand that there can still be outcomes you may consider unsuccessful, even when your action is innocent, there's going to be consequences. That depression that can occur with the loss of spirit could be deepened. Or that power of the spirit to withstand failure and shock could be enhanced. Saturn can bring its power to that if you're really being sensible. Yeah, I recognize that I can take innocent action and, sometimes things still don't work out. It's okay. Together, Saturn and Neptune could give a quality of being sensible and your ability to be that spiritual warrior and withstand the shocks of what Neptune unveils. That could be very empowering. Or what Neptune unveils could drive that loss of spirit deeper and really disempower with a complete inability to handle shock and failure. Uranus, with its unusualness, its rebellion and revolutionary nature, is in gate 20. Another individual trait in the throat center. This is the trait of contemplation and the now. It's an existential gate with the voice of I am now. Last cycle, we saw it move into line 2 called the dogmatist. That has a developmental theme that says restrictive and intentionally limited understanding. Line 2s are always selective, so operates within a narrower bandwidth here. A dogmatist is a person who expresses their opinions in a very strong and inflexible way, as if they are undeniable truths, and they tend to be resistant to considering alternative perspectives. So this line is not going to see everything that's there in the now, but there will be this expression of their point of view of what they do see in that very narrow way, in a very dogmatic way. This is the truth. It can bring a tendency to withdraw when others try to expose one to what is in the periphery. No, I don't want to see that. I'm aligned with this. What is outside of that limited view, that's not something they want to see. So there can be then a tendency to really want to be around those who will pay attention to their view. All right, we see that often playing out. Sometimes when I'm watching the news or different shows, you can see someone just has this very specific perspective and someone else is trying to debate with them and bring in a different perspective. And it's just like, no, like they're not even willing to see that other perspective. That is something that this can bring to the field. It also brings the possibility to lead people in their survival and well-being process, but it's going to be on a very specific path. Not necessarily a bad thing. These are people that can be specialists. And if you want to learn in a specialty area, this is exactly what you want. A narrow path, right? Someone who's really delved in and stayed on this path and knows everything within that boundary. On the other hand, especially if they lack the wisdom of maturity, this can really come across as, I know what's good for you right now, in the now, right? I know what's good for you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It can kind of have this my way or the highway quality to it as well. Personally, Uranus may bring an unusual perspective to you that may be narrow, and you may find yourself expressing that. Just be aware that you're likely not seeing the full picture. If you are in a specialty area, you may find that you're able to, with this frequency, it's going to support you in leading in an unusual or even revolutionary way within that area. In the collective, Uranus, well, it can also be sidetracking. So we may get people who are really sidetracked down this narrow path following someone's dogma that's really not correct for them. Something that you may notice, watch, yourself. I mean, if it's correct for you according to your strategy and authority, you got to go with it. But most often we see people where it's not, right? It's the not self mind. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to follow that. There may be these rebellious dogmatic perspectives that are expressed that some others grab onto for good or bad. Pluto brings inner truth and rules our larger cosmic cycles. We have a big change with that this cycle. It's starting off in gate 41, where it's been since early in the year, the trait of contraction and decrease. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry. It's the gate of daydreaming and fantasizing about the next experience you want to have. We've got that in the channel for the first part of the year, or first part of this cycle. It's the pressure to start a new feeling experience. It's in line 1 called reasonableness. And the opportunity it brings, if correct for you, is to engage your imagination in what you'd like to create and what you'd like to experience, knowing that eventually that does need to be narrowed down and it needs to be reasonable. Not every fantasy is meant to be brought into reality. So watch that you're not setting expectations here. Now, in the collective 41, this activation can also bring a contraction and decrease of resources, and using that imagination to then navigate that situation. On August 20th, we have Pluto retrograding back into gate 60, the individual trait of limitation and acceptance, also in the root center, and it will be in line 6. This is where we started the year. Line 6 is called rigidity. This brings the ability to accept limitations that you come up against and not try to push through them unless you can see that mutation, real change can happen. Remember, the individual traits want to bring through something new to the collective and the tribe. Or there could be this real agitation and even a sense of feeling depressed in being limited. You know that you have to be restrained, waiting for that mutative opportunity and trying not to push through the limitation, but you don't like it. Line 6s typically don't take any action until they can see that it's really likely to happen, that it's really likely to be mutative. You'll only find your truth when you break through a limitation, is how the not self collective can see this. So we may see in the world around us this trying to force change in a way that brings chaos, not waiting for the right timing. But its higher expression is we'll find truth when we accept limitation and wait for the correct pulse of mutation. Gate 60 represents the old, same old, same old, and the pressure is to break out of the same old into something new. But there is a correct timing to it according to the pulse of knowing and when or if it comes through. Early in the year, we had Pluto move from gate 60, the gate of limitation, to gate 41, the gate of decrease and contraction, the pressure for the new feeling experience. So out of our individual limitations, the same old, and whether you could accept them or not, came decrease and fantasizing about new experiences to overcome that. Now we go in the opposite direction. Out of decrease and the dreaming and fantasizing, we meet our individual limitations. This is going to be with us in gate 60 until early December, when Pluto, as it goes direct, will move back into gate 41. So a contemplation would be, what have we learned from our dreaming that we can use to support us in accepting the limitations that we run up against? Overall, this cycle, the combination of the long-term transits and the Sun-Earth positions, is bringing a real focus on the abstract experiential circuitry, the abstract experiential way, the cyclical nature of life. And while history does not have to repeat itself, if you leave something unfinished at the wrong time and don't get the lessons and wisdom, it's going to come back around again. It means that you're really going to have to watch your expectations this cycle. That'll be a very strong theme. You may be shocked in a way you may not like, if not, with that gate 25 at play. This pressure to start and say yes to something new without bringing an experience you're into completion is going to be amplified. For example, starting a new job or a project and then jumping out of it and into a new one that you might think will provide what you're yearning for. Perhaps a path that an influential, charming, and dogmatic individual has made sound great. After all, they know what's good for you. Unfortunately, this could sidetrack you into being busy with something that's not of value and set you up for disappointment when expectations aren't met. So that's just one way of bringing all the keynotes of this together and weaving them together. So make sure you're following your own strategy and authority in determining whether you really should start something new and that you're not jumping in or out of this pressure. Remember that for any of these traits, if you don't have them in your design, it's just pressure from the transit field. You can observe it playing out around you. You can learn from it, but whether there's anything for you to actually take action on is according to your own strategy and authority. So don't let it run you or puppet you. That brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. And if you're new to human design and want to understand the basics of the body graph at a high level, what's the black and the red about, the different geometric shapes, a little bit on the background of the human design system, you can grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human-design. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would love it if you could give it a like and perhaps subscribe. Okay. If it's time for you to start something new and commit your energy to an experience that will allow you to mature and get those lessons and enhance your wisdom over time, this is going to be a really supportive cycle. An outcome of maturation, by the way, is that it gets easier to articulate the polarity of saying no when something's not aligned. Beware this cycle of overcommitting yourself. If it's not time to start something new according to your strategy and authority, then you can just observe the pressures without taking action from them, watch it play out around you, and just watch that you're not placing expectation on outcomes. At the same time, expect that in the collective, you're likely to see the creation of a lot of expectation on situations that affect humanity. Let that gate 25 energy help you in being okay in the unknown without getting pulled into these expectations. All right. Have a great cycle, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.